tonight. Regina businesses deal with a rash of repeated window vandalism. A Lumsden athlete takes the next step to becoming an Olympian. And a 100-year-old veteran kicks off Saskatoon's Poppy campaign.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, October 31st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. It is a problem that has long plagued Regina, vandals smashing store windows and displays. But a recent string of events at two businesses has their owners shelling out hundreds of dollars for repairs and rattling their sense of security. Chris Edwards has our top story.
There is no big rocks like this in the area.
Thee Lingerie Shoppe owner Linda Bell has quite the collection of rocks. Unfortunately, they're from vandals who keep targeting her Albert Street business. Since August, someone has thrown rocks through her store's front window 6 separate times, forcing the store to board them up. Nothing was stolen in the incidents, and there's no sign anyone went inside. But she's kept a record of each incident, going so far as to label each rock thrown.
It was every second night for 4 times in a row, and then we had all the windows boarded up. We thought maybe it was the end. We've had the windows replaced, and then last Sunday it has started again for the 5th time.
Bell says she's had to spend over $4,000 of her own money for the repairs. That's on top of $10,000 covered by insurance. Bell says she's filed the case with Regina Police, who have offered to increase their patrols in the area, but the continued attacks have made Bell's staff nervous to come in if the vandal returns.
It would be nice to see somebody in person and explain to them exactly what happened, because it's devastating for me. It's expensive. That takes a lot of bras to sell to make up that kind of money. So, and it's just uncomfortable.
And it's not the only business experiencing rock throwing. Earlier this month, Excalibur Cat Cafe, just up Albert Street, was also targeted. The cats were unharmed, and a donor provided money for repairs. But owner Chelsea Legendre says other businesses might not be so lucky.
I think for small businesses, we don't have, like thousands of dollars in our back pocket that we can just pull out at any time to fix. And especially, this is the first time this has happened to us, but I have talked to other businesses that it's happened multiple times. And I can understand how frustrating that is. Our glass went in today and I'm already oh my gosh, hoping it doesn't get broken again.
Regina Police say they've received 429 reports of broken windows since May. That's actually a drop from 548 reports in the same period of last year, a decrease of 22%. Nevertheless, it's urging anyone who witnesses vandalism to report it immediately. Chris Edwards, CBC News, Regina.
A former Saskatoon police officer fired after an off-duty incident last year is now facing a criminal charge. The province's police watchdog says Dylan Kemp has been charged with assault. Jeffrey Tram has the details.
A Saskatoon police officer is facing a criminal charge that stems from a backyard hot tub party in September 2024. The Saskatchewan Serious Incident Response Team, or CERT, says the officer has been charged with 1 count of assault in relation to the off-duty incident. The officer was not named, but multiple sources have identified him to CBC News as Dylan Kemp. Kemp was one of 5 officers from Saskatoon Police Service's tactical team who were disciplined after the party he hosted. Officers who spoke to CBC News say a tactical team member allegedly physically assaulted a junior female officer at the party. That officer is the complainant in Kemp's assault charge. CERT began investigating after it was notified of the allegation 5 days after the party. Over the next year, investigators interviewed 23 police witnesses and 9 civilians and found reasonable grounds for the charge. Kemp was arrested on Thursday and released on an undertaking. He's due in Saskatoon Provincial Court on November 27th. Kemp launched a podcast in May called The Quiet Fight, where he talked about policing and mental health. Now, the former officer who spoke about life beyond the badge will face questions in court. Jeffrey Tram, CBC News, Regina.
The Canadian economy shrank in the month of August. The latest numbers from Stats Canada show a decline of 0.3%. The agency says the hardest hit sectors were manufacturing, wholesale trade and mining. That can be attributed to U.S. tariffs for the most part. The work stoppage by Air Canada flight attendants hampered air transportation. Early signs suggest the economy barely managed any growth in the third quarter. Prime Minister Mark Carney is signaling a new thaw in relations with China. This comes after a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping.
This meeting today is long overdue. Very pleased with the outcome of the meeting. Our officials are instructed to work at pace on issues moving forward.
The two leaders talked on the sideline of the APEC summit in South Korea. Canada is being squeezed between China and the U.S. in the global trade war. Chinese tariffs on Canadian exports are hitting hard in a number of provinces, including here in Saskatchewan with tariffs on canola. There's no sign of a breakthrough, but Carney accepted the Chinese leader's invitation to visit his country. It would be the first official visit by a Canadian Prime Minister since 2017. Canada's tourism industry had a record-breaking summer. New numbers show hotels, attractions, and tour operators had their busiest season ever, and revenues hit all-time highs. Kyle Bax looks at what's behind the boom.
Up, down, and around the mountains in southwest Alberta, Brent Coinberg has never taken so many travelers on guided tours.
The tourism this summer was really good for me. We probably quadrupled how many tours we did and how many people we took through.
Business was booming with nearly half of his customers from abroad. He's not alone, as it was a banner year across the country. New figures from Destination Canada estimate record high revenue for the tourism industry this past summer, nearly $60 billion, up 6% compared to last year, with most regions in the country experiencing a tourism bump.
We look at a metric called forward bookings, and for the past few months and months before the summertime, we were seeing bookings growing from all of our target international markets and from Canadians who are looking to travel domestically.
Much of the tourism spending in Canada was by Canadians, as many choose to spend their travel dollars at home, fueled by national pride amid a trade war with the U.S. and Donald Trump's threats to annex Canada. Domestic tourism was up 7%. At the same time, revenue from overseas travelers climbed even higher, a 10% jump compared to last summer. One notable drop was from the U.S., a slight decrease of about 2%.
It was down, as we were expecting to see.
Regardless, it will be a summer to remember in the tourism sector and financially providing a much-needed economic boost for the country. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
RCMP Depot Division, the oldest primary training division within the RCMP, is celebrating 140 years of operation. Since 1885, recruits from across Canada have called the Regina Training Academy home as they begin their careers in law enforcement. On Friday, Regina's mayor, the RCMP's assistant commissioner, and current RCMP members attended a raising of Depot Division's ensign flag, something officers hope is a reminder of the shared commitment of service between the RCMP and other police services.
Majority of people that come through our gates are people that want to make a difference in their communities. They want to help, and being in this position of being there 24/7, day and night, when other services aren't necessarily available, we have a lot of things piled on us that aren't even our role, and people are willing to take that on to help others in the community.
The chief herald of the RCMP assigned the ensign to the RCMP in 1991. The artwork symbolizes the organization's cavalry lineage and the skills needed to become an officer. The flag will be on display at Regina City Hall through the weekend. Well, after nearly 6 months and over $15 million spent, Saskatoon is getting one of its bridges back. The Broadway Bridge is expected to reopen to traffic Saturday night. Mayor Cynthia Block had pressed a city official about the timeline to reopen the bridge at City Council earlier this week. The rehabilitation project not only includes the upgraded bridge, but also a major change to the intersection of 4th Avenue and 19th Street on the downtown side. The bridge accommodates about 20,000 vehicles a day. Students from 2 Saskatoon high schools spent Friday knocking on doors, not for Halloween candy, but for donations. Students from St. Joseph and Bishop James Mahoney High Schools collected non-perishable foods for the Saskatoon Food Bank. Over the last 2 decades, the Halloween drive has brought in more than 90,000 kilograms of food. Last year alone, the schools collected over 14,000 kilograms.
I feel proud, but it's also very tiring and my arms are sore after. But I think it is worth it, like overall, especially at the end when they announced the amount. Like last year we had like 16 tons, which is a lot of food, and I'm really happy that it's our school who does it.
Organizers say their hard work is going to pay off in the holiday season, which is the busiest time for the food bank. It says these donations will make a huge impact. While homes all across Regina are in the spooky spirit for Halloween with all sorts of unique displays, thankfully Mother Nature has spared us this year. No snowsuits or boots needed for trick-or-treating, and it looks like we'll continue to mostly be spared by the snow as we head into November. Riley Lachuk has the details in the forecast after the break. A Saskatchewan teen is one of 100 finalists selected through the RBC Training Ground, a nationwide talent search program run by the Canadian Olympic Committee. The program identifies young athletes with Olympic potential and connects them with elite training opportunities. Sarah Onyango has that story.
14-year-old Ava Darbellay has spent years perfecting her skills in biathlon, skiing and shooting her way toward Olympic qualifiers. But just this summer, she decided to take on a new Olympic dream after discovering the sport of luge.
I've always kind of wanted to go to the Olympics. I just haven't decided what sport I want to go to the Olympics doing. So maybe luge will be that sport.
Darbellay attended a qualifier event in May, competing against more than 2,000 young athletes in speed, power, and endurance tests. After being scouted, she went to Calgary to try luge for the first time. Being scouted was a surprise for Darbellay, but she's embracing the challenge, heading to Vancouver this weekend for the RBC Training Ground National Final.
I was just super excited to receive that email and get invited. I didn't think I was going to be recruited by any national sport organization, so it was really cool.
Talent scouts say having a background in biathlon already gave Darbellay a strong foundation for luge. Training 5 times a week, she's used to endurance, speed, and precision.
I remember telling the other coach that was with me that day, I was like, look how fast she's getting a hang of it, right? You can see right away.
But the most important factor in her scouting may come down to age. For luge, scouts were focused on the 14 to 15-year-old range.
In our sport, it's very important to start as early as possible. So Ava's age is kind of perfect time for her to start luge.
And coaches already believe she could go far in the sport. RBC Training Ground alumni who were scouted similarly have already brought home a total of 14 Olympic medals across 3 Olympic Games.
To have athletes that have now made it to 2 Olympic Games just sort of speaks to the opportunity that's there. You could be a soccer player and be more suited towards being a cyclist like Kelsey Mitchell. You could be a hockey player and be more suited towards bobsleigh like Mike Evelyn.
If all goes well this weekend, Darbellay could be spending a lot of time in Vancouver at Canada's only full-time luge track in Whistler. Luge Canada has invited her to join their accelerated track to podium team. Still, she's keeping her biathlon roots close.
My biathlon friends are kind of scared I'm going to ditch the sport, but I'm not ditching biathlon completely yet.
3, 2, 1.
From the skis to the sleds, this young athlete is proving that the path to the Olympics can take unexpected and exciting turns. Sarah Onyango, CBC News, Regina.
And the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina are now less than 100 days away. The cities will be host to nearly 3,000 athletes and tens of thousands of fans. And as Alexander Silberman shows us, 2 cities sharing the load is still no easy feat.
The race to the 2026 Olympic Winter Games in northern Italy, entering the final stretch. Organizers working against the clock to host the most sprawling Winter Games in history. Figure skating and ice hockey in Milan, curling, bobsled, and alpine skiing in Cortina, 5 hours away. and other events spread across 3 distant mountain regions.
So it's a major test for this organizing committee to try to meet all of these new demands, multi-city, multi-province, multi-jurisdiction.
This is the 3rd time Italy will host the Winter Games.
You can feel the electricity in the air.
This Italian sports journalist says the region will be ready to welcome the world.
All the world will watch Italy during these days, so it will be a huge task.
The Games will make use of more than 24 competition venues. The bulk already exist, saving on time and money. The Olympic Village is ready, but some highways and new rail links are still under construction.
Athletes can be stuck in traffic. That is a reality.
Canada's chef de mission says logistical challenges are part of the Olympic experience.
You know, getting ready for that and having that right mindset can give us an edge.
Canada's athletes are still trying to qualify for the Games, but hockey is expected to draw a lot of attention, with NHL players back in the Olympics for the first time in 12 years.
We're working really hard to bring the team together to feel like one united team.
Excitement mixed with concerns over construction timelines on thin ice. The main hockey arena behind schedule, with test matches canceled, and Italian organizers say completion will be down to the wire. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Regina.
Well, trick-or-treaters across the province mostly being treated with this forecast. Hey, at least we're not seeing any snow or rain, even though it has been a little bit chillier. As for what the first part of November is going to bring us, well, weather specialist Riley Lachuk has those details now. Hi, Riley.
Well, thanks, Ethan. Perhaps a bit of a cooler day to end the month of October on, temperature-wise at least. A few degrees below seasonal for some of us through the afternoon hours. 1 in Regina and Weyburn, 2 in Estevan, Saskatoon at 3 degrees, 2 in Yorkton. Usually we should be around 4 or 5 for this time of the year. So a little bit off the mark thanks to a bit of cloud cover across parts of the province, and really much of the province as we've gotten throughout the afternoon hours. Kind of stuck under this cloud cover really through much of south and central. Bit of high pressure has tried to clear us out a little bit on the western side of the province, but you'll notice there is some cloud in behind this starting to build in, and this will be our next weather maker to impact us as we get into the weekend here, really right across the prairie provinces from Alberta right through to Manitoba. So moving forward in time, high pressure, yeah, clears us out for the most part tonight. Maybe there'll be a bit of cloud hanging around, but for the most part, we are looking at things clearing out quite nicely as we head into the morning on Saturday. Then we get a first shot of some cloud cover, maybe a few flurries or some periods of light snow into extreme northern parts of the province, not talking any major accumulations, but maybe you pick up a couple centimeters of wet snow. I do think, though, as we get into the day tomorrow, some of that does start to melt with daytime temperatures popping up above the freezing mark once again. Mix of sun and clouds for most of the province as we get through Saturday. Into Sunday, though, another area of low pressure starts to push across central parts of the province. Not expecting this to have a major impact on Regina or really anywhere south of the Trans-Canada, for example, but through central parts of the province, including Saskatoon, early into Sunday morning, do expect some showers, some of that lingering throughout the daytime before we start to get a bit of clearing. And then behind this, maybe a little bit of instability yet to come for southern sections. So perhaps a bit unsettled for some of us as we get through the weekend, but we are looking at some periods where we do see some sun and clouds, at least as we head through Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. What this is translating to is a fairly narrow band where we do get into 10 to 15 millimeters of rain for Prince Alberta, into the Battlefords, for example. Expecting maybe 2 to 5 millimeters tops in Saskatoon, this particular forecast model on the lower end of things as we get through the weekend, and really trace to maybe a couple of millimeters for the rest of us across the province. But you will really notice some wind as we get through the weekend here. Looking into Saturday morning, winds already south 20 gusting to 40 across parts of the south. Could see some gusts even up to 70 as we get through the day on Sunday. So we are looking at a bit of a windy one if you aren't in an area that sees some of that rain throughout the weekend here. Overnight temperatures below the freezing mark, -3 in Regina, -2 in Saskatoon, a few flurries into La Ronge at -1. And a quick look at your Sunday forecast, or your Saturday forecast, Ethan, back into double digits, 18 degrees in Maple Creek. Gorgeous for November. Thanks, Riley.
A larger-than-life animal is now calling the University of Regina home. This is Jack Rabbit, a ceramic sculpture originally created by a 2023 U of R ceramics class. It was a collaborative project between the school's visual arts faculty, alumni, and the Regina and Area Potters Guild. We're back after the break. November 1st marks the start of Canada's Poppy campaign, recognizing those who fought for our country. And on Friday, Saskatoon Mayor Cynthia Block attended the launch of this year's campaign. Block was the first to be adorned with a poppy at the event held at Saskatoon's Legion Hall, with 100-year-old Second World War veteran Ruth Bond Martinson placing the poppy on the mayor. Both spoke about the opportunity afterward.
That was quite an honor. I've never had that happen before. That's lovely.
I was the one who was honored. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was wonderful. That I didn't have a poppy and she picked it up and said, no poppy. Yeah, we all love a poppy. Never forget the poppy.
Bond Martinson is known for her volunteer work throughout the province, supporting women and girls in military spaces.
All right, so maybe a bit unsettled for some of us as we head through the weekend here, looking at your long-range forecast for Regina, looking at double digits again tomorrow. Could even get close to 20 degrees in the southwest corner of the province. Normal for this time of the year being 4 degrees. So looking at a gusty southerly wind up to 50 through the afternoon in Regina. That wind carries us into Sunday, some gusts 60 plus across the southern part of the province. Temperatures still remaining above seasonal through Sunday into Monday. Lasting into the rest of the week here, although I am watching a system that could impact the prairie provinces as we get toward the end of next week, looking at least the possibilities of some showers as we get through the day on Thursday. For Saskatoon, looking at a 13-degree high through the day on Saturday, south winds 20 gusting to 40. There's those showers I was talking about into the morning on Sunday. Then we're into warmer than seasonal temperatures through much of next week. And yes, we're looking at the possibility of even some snow, Ethan, as we get toward the end of next week.
Well, I guess we knew it was coming. Thank you, Riley. And before we leave you, Halloween is nothing special for most Europeans, but a cafe owner in Athens is so excited about the holiday, it's spooky. 10 people spent a week setting it up. When the cafe first boasted Halloween decorations 10 years ago, locals were confused. In Greece, the closest thing to the holiday is springtime religious festival in which people wear costumes, but an influx of foreign residents and tourists has created awareness of Halloween. And that is our news for this Halloween Friday. For more news anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.